Assalamu alaikum bal kontonal tonal kontongol. Da far sai kala kadiya mun yomi kanuma. Lafta nyina nga sama kono do ko kejang. Wo sama kono do ko fanan. Mbela fula mun laje. Tol mi yalon ko iben febola. Lafta min nula yalon lafta fo fenna akabete yando sama kono. Mbo dan nalbul alakancila kampura aliye wodin. Fulan jamma fanan alsim ma ko jambando fanando. Kantu jambando akuoko le hata male. Ni ko na ko eta jambando le kasamba. Mbal dan na fanan fulan jamma wala munyinti fanan alsim ma koy kuto mi yalon mimbe kunyo mi kanuma abato sambala kantu nga dan ta do dan mala kanuma musoli ye wonole
Mtato mukeba fatilati mbedo wala roots project not bank jang anu hame ko menti garden roja wala nyenti ko pour garden nyi nga commencer ka doku nyin sama kono nintil kando fanan kono so na wala na ferol kono pour ka garden nyi ka adoku til kando ning sama be pour ka molla zola fango ka kafu ka yirwandi fanan nga ferol melande nyi sama pour ka gadno nyen doku wala nyenti folo nga mbimu ki janne pour gadno nyen pour ka sanayandi ka bringo ke nga gadno nyen sanayandi le say anaraf mune ka ta fana wonde ko ntol lodula menti anim musol melan ko be doku ka gadno ko fana lodula menti momo e lodula nyi yata so nara ka ta musol momo ngenta pongol sama nang pikalol sama nang momo bi da fo membi da fo pikal tan nani pour muso melango abadogo kala ngarno kono na haymaroto musu adara fo musu keme musu talul ni lulu menganta ka dogo ka ngarno nyin kono so be ngenda pekalo samal nane an niyo pekalo samanan be namne kala kotanke be sumandirol kala ka bambewol suman ke bondi nyokono pour ka doko ke anum fanan la fafengol doku la membe ko kanjo because nya jube gadno nyin ba pare ka kanjo nyin doku o fanan manki kidila nga ka doku nga kacal fanan ke nin bundal be mel yalan ko e pare da ko kanjo sang musol bulo ni doku foka pare so kacal sainteng musafo dal kum fa kan ne sain ninga doku nyin ke musol ba be jala ko e marcelo dum sotla kanjo nyin ni doku so sain tang o benna plano le kono pour ka dogo nyin ka commencer nyin sama fan kono
komi julli jallo yalal tan kon jala mi salmini mbolo go fof mi salmini on fof no bete mi weltima no bete de minen liggotobe ko si sago amen ko yomin liggo ndungu e ceedu min liggo ndungu e ceedu joni be ngari do be mi projet kanja na wodi min jidi projet kanja hay yeso Allah minen do jidi projet kanja hay yeso Allah minen jidi aw batanta minen jidi aw jagato minen jidi aw mentu minen jidi aw kullu ko ngal nga horma ko nabata neddo yeso minen jidi he do e o projet yalla tan ko jala hay masara minen do jidi aw kala ko ganda horma dar ko nabata yeso koko funtinan mata bimbi jedi minen kajori no bete no wana seda min dema ndungu min dema ceedu
ni yedo ko ke mam marché o soto abe kole alale so projet o yo ferol be tale e simfa nyal tale kaje ko be business lal soto no la nyaadi le mel
Hello and welcome. This is GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. Now, in our headlines this hour, President Adama Barrow receives U.S. Ambassador at Large at the Department of State for Global Criminal Justice at State House in Banjul. The National Nutrition Agency sets to validate 3 strategic documents as part of efforts to strengthen resilience to food and nutrition security in the Sahel. Plus, building household resilience, the National Nutrition Agency, in collaboration with embark on massive cash transfer to beneficiary communities across the regions. In sports, the district of Kansala stages first edition of the Foni Kansala Marathon, attracting scores of participants in the area. Away from home, the government of the Republic of Togo confirms the ousted Burkina Faso leader, Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, had fled to Lomé after a military coup. And the government in Indonesia fires police chief after an independent investigation into a stampede at a football stadium that killed 125 people, including 32 children. Well, viewers, that's the top of the news and much more coming ahead with me, Mary Anjai Ajayi, and thank you for joining us. Well, it's great to have you with us. We begin with the presidency as the United States has renewed its commitment to support the Gambia's efforts in seeking justice for victims of the former regime. This was disclosed by U.S. Ambassador at Large at the Department of State for Global Criminal Justice. Now, during a courtesy call on the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow at State House. Now, Mamadou Jallow reports, and let's now take a look.
The President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, received in audience U.S. Ambassador at Large, Her Excellency Bert Van Schaack at State House. Ambassador is a leading expert on global criminal justice at the U.S. State Department, where he serves as an advisor to Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the White House. Speaking to reporters after talks with the President, Ambassador Van Schaack praised the Gambia's leading role in international justice and its successful conduct of a transitional justice process.
As you may know, the Gambia is a leader in international justice. It has a wonderful reputation abroad. It has taken the lead in bringing a case before the International Court of Justice involving the genocide against the Rohingya Muslim minority in Burma, Myanmar. And you've also had a very successful transitional justice process. Your Truth Commission is a model, I think, for other places in the world in terms of being holistic, listening to the victims, understanding what they experienced under the Jammeh regime, and looking for ways to help heal those wounds. And justice is a part of that healing.
She, however, stressed the importance of implementing the recommendations of the TRRC in order to hold perpetrators accountable and give some measure of justice to the victims.
The key now will be implementation of the recommendations from the Truth Commission, including creating some sort of a justice mechanism so that those who were most responsible for the abuses under that prior regime can be held accountable and the victims can see a measure of justice on their behalf. And I think in that regard, reparations will be very important, and the President emphasized this in his meeting with me.
Ambassador Van Schaack assured that the U.S. will continue to support the Gambia in this process, adding that the United States has already taken concrete steps to hold a suspect accountable.
So important for me to come here early in my term as ambassador because you are such a leader. You are creating the state-of-the-art of transitional justice, and I really look forward to seeing how this all plays out in the future. And we stand ready in the United States to support your process. There might be ways for the United States and the international community to help fill those gaps with expertise. We are a strong partner in this regard, and we are really looking forward to continuing that. I also was able to give him a quick readout of a case in the United States against one of the junglers who was found living in Denver. And so charges have been brought against that individual, 6 counts of torture and 1 count of conspiracy to commit torture.
She thanked the President for his commitment to justice, whilst assuring the U.S. government support at all times. Mamadou Jallow, GRTS.
And now, away from that, the officials of National Nutrition Agency with partners recently embarked on a nationwide tour for the disbursement of cash to the vulnerable communities across the country who are seriously affected by the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. The scheme is part of the Social Safety Net project initiated by the World Bank and the government of the Gambia at a tune of $31 million. Well, Baba Silla was with the delegation and he now files in this report.
Joining forces with the Social Welfare and Community Development Directorate, the National Nutrition Agency embarked on a nationwide tour to assess the Social Safety Net project disbursing cash of vulnerable people affected by the global COVID-19 pandemic. The initiative, sponsored by the World Bank and the government of the Gambia at a tune of $31 million, is helping to enhance living conditions of local communities across the country. The delegation began the rollout of the scheme's second phase in the West Coast and wrap up in the Upper River region, where thousands of people line up in different communities to receive a monthly cash delivery of $3,000. The scheme targets 17 districts across the country, with beneficiaries expressing immense appreciation for the scheme.
We are thankful for the gesture. At least we are able to feed our families because things are not easy now. The money has been really helpful. We have seen the benefits. For some of us with many children, the amount of money is really helpful because we are able to feed our families.
From the West Coast, the delegation proceeded to the Lower and Central River region, where officials deliver cash disbursement to the most vulnerable.
Today we are expected to pay 26 beneficiaries drawn from 4 communities, Kunda Maria, Kundong Numukunda, Kundom Fulakunda, and Jirof itself. Since in the morning, we've been moving from one point to another. We were in Sibito, that was our first point of call. Then from there, we went to, but the third pay point, we were in Manina, and the fourth pay point, here we are in Jirof. So all what we are actually trying to do is to make sure that we reach out to beneficiaries wherever they are, and so that they will not have to travel 5 kilometers to get to the pay point.
Recently, the Gambia is hard hit as a result of the climate change effects. And these communities being the most vulnerable, it is very fitting for them to receive these cash transfers. You will also realize that during the rainy season, especially September, this is the moment when people are very much in need of food. And LRR is one of those regions that is hardly affected. The Social Safety Net project, or the CASFAS, will help to a great deal these communities. My advice to them is let them use it judiciously.
The scheme is significantly transforming lives of the vulnerable communities as beneficiaries start investing in sustainability by building shops to boost their livelihood. The tour continues with Nutrition and Community Development officials expanding a direct support initiative to boost resilience for the most vulnerable. Baba Silla, GRTS.
And now 3 strategic documents are to be validated at a 2-day validation workshop by the National Environment Agency under the multinational program, which aims to strengthen the resilience to food and nutrition security in the Sahel region. Now, experts and stakeholders from relevant departments are to scrutinize the strategic documents amid its consultants in the coming days. Well, Abba Ibrahim Cham has all the details.
Consultants are facing off with experts at a 2-day validation workshop on 3 strategic documents of the P2 and P2RS multinational program, which seeks to strengthen resilience to food and nutrition security in the Sahel, which is funded by the African Development Bank. The Gambia is part of 7 countries implementing this project, as it faces the impacts of climate change and threat to food insecurity exacerbated by the Russia-Ukraine war. The 3 documents are centered on environment and social management frameworks, guiding the Gambia's pest and pesticide management plan, along with a simplified environmental and social impact outlook to build tidal irrigation infrastructure at Jahalipacha Central River region. Senior Environmental Assessment Officer Lamin Samate gave an overview of the strategic document, setting the framework for climate action.
In the past, we used to have drought in this country, which also seriously impact food security. So what we are trying to do as part of this project is how best we can actually put in place measures to actually address those challenges. Because if we go without food in the country, we cannot have any meaningful development. So it's important that we actually pay attention, participate effectively, and so that, we do justice to these 3 documents.
Food insecurity is posing major challenges to sustainability, threatening communities and the most vulnerable besides the growing effects of climate change, shifting rainfall pattern.
The P2RS is aligned to key regional agricultural and environmental policies and strategies. These policies and strategies include the ECOWAS Regional Agricultural Policy, or ECOWAP, the SILS Food Security Strategy Framework, the ECOWAS Sahel Strategy adopted, and the United Nations Support Plan for the Sahel.
Before declaring the workshop open, the Director of Technical Services, Malik Bah, briefly addressed the key components of the project towards food security, which includes strengthening resilience to climate change, of agro-pastoral and fisheries production, and development of agro-silvopastoral and fisheries value chains to support sub-regional institutions and build adaptive capacities in the Sahel.
We understand that at some point, some pesticides will be used. This is why that aspect of the African Development Bank policies is triggered. But we also have the environmental and social impact assessment, which is kind of the ones that look into detail, a kind of an assessment that is also conducted so that the potential negative impacts of the projects are now identified, and then we put in place to mitigate those potential negative impacts.
The effects of climate change is taking toll on food security, pushing communities to the edge in what has become a race against time to build sustainable mechanisms for sustainability in the Sahel. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm Bai Ibrahim Cham.
Well, we are staying with Bai Ibrahim Cham because the famous youth entrepreneurial and skill enhancement project, dubbed TechieFi, funded by the European Union, has finally come to a close after a 3-day project in the Gambia. The 5 implementing partners recently wrapped up a countrywide tour to meet beneficiary and community leaders in order to bid them farewell and inaugurate a few youth community centers. Well, let's Bai Ibrahim Cham again.
The TechieFi program, funded by the European Union Emergency Trust Fund for Africa, aims to improve economic development and create viable prospects for youths, particularly returning migrants who are being engaged in gainful schemes, promoting employment and income opportunities. The 5 implementing partners wanted the country to hand over projects and bid beneficiaries farewell as the project reaches climax. Starting in the North Bank, the team briefly visited the Njawara Agricultural Training Center, where a refurbished training center is up and running after being ravaged by windstorms. 50 youths also received training on poultry and horticulture, alongside a trainers program to build a localized curriculum. The convoy later held a town hall meeting with the governor, village heads, and community youth leaders in the North Bank. The North Bank region governor congratulated implementing partners, saying scores of youths are being lost to irregular migration.
To educate and skill young people in this country so that they can be creative and create an employability for other youths. So in other words, they are trained to not to be employees, but to employers. And we have seen so many youths who have been skilled and they are doing their own thing.
The ITC project coordinator, Fatou Jallo, gave an overview of the inroads made by the TechieFi project in 3 years of interventions to empower youths.
In terms of when it comes to the access to finance, this was basically through the mini grant and the mini loan scheme. The mini grant was implemented together with NACUC and then with the mini loan with the Social Development Fund. And over $100 million is disbursed for grants and startup support. And 11 million of private capital were unlocked for young entrepreneurs through the TechieFi mini loan scheme.
James Dean, the project manager, working to enhance the project's infrastructural component, training youths on eco-friendly mechanisms in architecture.
Actually, we have worked with a number of you on such projects as garden walls and garden irrigation systems in Bunyadu, in Esau, in Farafeni, in Kerardo, in Bereto, where we have built walls around gardens to make them safe from animals, and also have improved the irrigation systems so that there is water available for the gardens, and increase the productivity of those gardens so that we can get at least 3 harvests per year out of the gardens.
Implementing partners who jointly executed the 3-year program received testimonies from beneficiaries who outlined project's impacts and how it changed their lives, equipping them with different skills and support grants.
Because I was among the lucky people who were sent to India to train compressed stabilized earth block. It doesn't need too much of sand or too much of cement to have compressed stabilized earth bricks, because it is eco-friendly. Because we noticed that Gambia, the climate change is disturbing us, and a lot of sand mining is happening in our area. This one, you only need the quarry dust to have a very solid compressed earth bricks, and it can serve you for 100 years.
The Techifi Youth Empowerment Project provides immense potential for a major paradigm shift as more youths benefit from gainful skills and support to launch their own businesses. Reporting for GRTS News, I'm by Ibrahim Cha.
And now, in another development, the Gambia Transport Services Company on Monday signed a memorandum of understanding with Guarantee Trust Bank to ease transactions of ticket issuance for customers. Now, the initiative seeks to enhance and introduce the Transport Services Company to digitization as well as safeguarding their revenue. Senabu Janjane has the rest of that story.
A major bid to ease transactional challenges for customers galvanizes a new partnership between the Gambia Transport Services and GT Bank, introducing e-tickets for passengers using national bus services. General Manager for the transport company, CD Kanyi, says this is a strong collaboration to yield more benefits for customers.
The volume of revenue we generate is hundreds of thousands per day, and all for public interest. So whatever opportunity comes our way to safeguard that revenue, that will amount to millions of dollars at the end of the year, GTSC should grab it. And Guarantee Trust Bank are here to ensure that for us. As I said, it's a beginning of more fruitful relationship to come. And we hope and pray that it will yield more positive results for both parties. That is Guarantee Trust Bank for the banking industry sector, and Gambia Transport Service Company for operators, or any operator or any business that handles cash, especially in large volume. As long as it's safeguarded, then we are good to go.
The Managing Director for GT Bank, Daniel Atta, said the GT Bank GTSC partnership began in 2021 and is now being strengthened through a scheme for greater safety in ticketing transactions.
And we are committed in assigning more resources to take it from this level that we have achieved today to be able to commit more resources. This is just the beginning, and we'll have to continue to improve on it. We'll look at the loopholes, are there loopholes, or are there better way of rendering this service? We'll look at it from time to time and see how we can up it. In terms of, you talk about the security of your funds. Of course, we have invested a lot in terms of how to block these bad boys from entering our system. The firewalls for our systems is top-notch, and we'll continue to review our processes to ensure that nobody will take undue advantage.
Balamin Dabo, Head of Finance at the Gambia Transport Service Company, buttressed the importance of smooth transactions for customers via the company's online app.
This, in a nutshell, has to do with technology. And if we want technology to improve along the GTSC lines as much as we can, so that we can have it easier to collect revenue and then reduce the effect of human interactions as easily as possible. Now within that, once it happens, you will see that, okay, yes, revenue lapses will reduce drastically, and then this will give us the ability to be seen as, okay, technological oriented people.
Traffic Manager Amadou Drame outlined the various phases in the implementation of the new partnership deal.
Phase 1 is actually for a customer convenience in terms of time and then the proximity towards coming to GTSC, which is phase 1. And then with that, the person would walk into any GT Bank branch, of course, to buy. Instead of coming to Kanifing here, you will be, for example, in Burusubi roundabout, commonly called turntable. There you walk into any GT Bank branch and buy your ticket there. You don't need to actually have that hassle of traffic to come to GTSC, which is phase 1. And the phase 2 is the mobile app, which actually we're working, tirelessly to make it happen with GT Bank. If that come to fruition, obviously you don't need to even go to any of these branches of GT Bank. What you do, sit in the comfort of your home and then tap into your phone and get your ticket at your own time, at your own convenience. Thereby, the only thing you need to do is to come to GTSC to board the service and go to your destination. The phase 3, obviously, which is quite interesting, we have a school transport service where students will actually buy tickets from the vehicle and then to and fro to school and home. So with this phase 3, which is the QR code, and then we have a device that will actually accept that, the parents can buy a whole month of tickets for their child, and we will issue a card wherein you need to swipe the card actually to read it. Thereby, the convenience here is the parents would not be able to have that hassle and trouble to give cash to their child, but rather only the card would actually help in this instance. And thereby, it will also help GTSC to collect its revenue in more transparent way and then bring convenience to both parties as far as travel is concerned.
E-tickets rolled out through GT Bank will significantly improve ticketing services and boost customer safety as the GTSC moves to expand transport operations. Zainabu Janjania for GRTS News.
And now, the National Drug Enforcement Agency has conducted a preliminary forensic test on suspected blocks of cocaine seized from suspected traffickers in different places within the Kanifing municipality and West Coast region. The drug substance weighed at the Narcotics Office complex in Bijilo produced 840 kilograms and 300 grams. Now, Ibrahim Jallo has more on that.
What we are coming to do is to weigh the substance that are allegedly found with the accused persons.
A major breakthrough in the fight against illicit drug trafficking and use in the country. 6 suspects were apprehended during an intelligence-driven tactical operation by Gambian narcotic officers.
We've been surveilling people for more than almost close to 2 months. We've been gathering intelligence on them until, luckily for us, we were able to apprehend them.
6 people were arrested so far, 5 Sierra Leoneans and 1 Gambian.
Do you recognize the block? Huh? One, do you recognize the block?
The preliminary test on the suspected cocaine came out positive that indeed the blocks contain cocaine, and the women put it at 840 kilograms and 300 grams.
The presence of the accused person is very important. They need to know the substance that they were arrested with, how much does it weigh. And the weight of it will determine the charges going to be preferred against them. Weighment is a very important aspect of investigating drug matters. In drug cases, the weighment certificate is very important because once you say you allege somebody with a substance, you need to weigh it. It is part of the process. So this is why they are brought here to conduct the weighment.
The public relations officer of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Usman Sediba, explains the complexity of tackling drugs trafficking, which according to him, operates in links across boundaries. He said the target market is mostly outside the country.
Drug trafficking is transnational. It does not know a border. So as such, the traffickers, just as we collect intelligence on them, they collect intelligence on us. They want to know what we know, how we know, what we are doing, and how are we doing that. So based on those intelligence, counterintelligence, and espionage activities, they also look at the areas that they can look at to get their drugs, as I said, to the target market. Because in most instances, how many Gambians can afford to take $1,500, is $1,200 for just a sniff of a cocaine? So if you look at that in a day, how many Gambians can afford to spend nothing less than $15,000 a day to be able to feed a craving? On a monthly basis, how much is that? So that's why mostly we tell people that except when it's adulterated to crack cocaine, the target market is mostly the country.
Meanwhile, a confirmatory test would be conducted to finally determine the legal action to be taken against the alleged traffickers. Ibrahima Diallo, GRTS News.
And now, the Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters informs the public that it is the temporal ban on night fishing effective 6 October 2022. A media release from the ministry says that in accordance to 2007 Fisheries Act, Part 5, Fisheries Conservation, Management and Development, Section 16, Conservation and Management Measures. Subsection 1, the Secretary of State may in particular where there is a need to take immediate conservation and management action by notice published in the Gazette. A. Establish open or closed seasons for any specified area for any fish stock and any period of time. The Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, in consultation with the Department of Fisheries and in consideration of the below outlined reasons, is pleased to lift the ban on temporal night fishing with effect from 1st October 2022. Scarcity of fish had to the importation of fish from other countries, example Kingdom of Morocco and Mauritania. High cost of fish is unaffordable to the general population. Based on these reasons, the ministry feels that it is convenient at this juncture to lift the ban so that fish is made available for everyone. The Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters wishes to express appreciation to all fisherfolk for their cooperation with understanding during the moratorium. The Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters further request to all stakeholders involved in the sector to comply with the rules and regulations and warn that people found fishing in the wrong zones and using the wrong nets will be dealt with accordingly by law. The release ends. And now the World Islamic Call Society Gambia's office has organized a day training for imams and Islamic scholars. The forum, as Khadija Jallo reports, serves as a refresher for participants on best practices in service delivery. Let's take a look.
After a long period of silence due to unrest in Libya, the World Islamic Call Society, initiated in Libya, is now taking shape to execute the objectives of the body. Bashir Nafia al-Bashir reiterated the importance of the training, describing it as a beginning of a more fruitful relations with the Islamic scholars of the country.
This is training for Imam and Duat. This is very important. You know, any person need to refresh their mind and educate themselves. In our office has teachers and preachers. We like to training them and educate them to be better in their job as teachers or in their life with their family and their society.
The President, Gambia Supreme Islamic Council, Sheikh Issa Dabo, described the topic delved on as apt and important, how to change ideas into actions.
It's a very, very important topic. The topic is about how to change our ideas and thinking into action. So it's a very, very good topic, and especially those who participated here, our Islamic organization leaders, they learn a lot from this topic because it's about how to develop a strategic plan for your Islamic work, Islamic dawah, you know, how to plan it strategically and how to put all those things into action.
Delivering the vote of thanks, Imam Abdullah Fati expressed appreciation for the training and bringing Islamic scholars, most of whom are graduates of Libyan universities. Fati commended weeks top official for reviving such an important intervention. He prayed for peace to reign in Libya, a country that used to extend different kinds of support in the continent. The Gambia is no exception. To the guest speaker, Algerian nationality, staying in Senegal, Dr. Mohamed Maimoun, for a successful deliberations. More of these trainings, according to Wicks, is expected in the near future.
الأفعال قوي، عالم الأفكار ضعيف. هناك فئة ثالثة لا يريدون ولا يقدرون. وهناك فئة رابعة يريدون ويقدرون. وهؤلاء هم المؤثرون في هذا العالم يا أخواني الكرام.
Khadijatu Jallow, reporting for GRTS News.
Well, time now to take our first break, and when we return, sports news is up next. Do stay with us.
Bank from here and there and here too, here and even here. Introducing the Bloom Digital Suite from Bloom Bank Africa. Web and mobile banking that allows you to bank on the go at your convenience and on your own terms. Check and transfer funds, pay NAWIC bills, buy cash power, buy mobile credit, and so much more. For more information, visit www.bloombankafrica.com or pass by any of our branches nationwide. Download from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. Bloom Digital Web and Mobile Banking on the go from Bloom Bank Africa.
Wherever you are, send money to your loved ones with MoneyGram via AfriMoney, anytime, anywhere to the Gambia. No sending fees, no cash out fees. Simply go to www.moneygram.com or use the app and select Send through AfriMoney. Cash out at any AfriMoney agent and receiver gets $100 is free. Call 777 or dial *777# to register for AfriMoney in Gambia.
Welcome back, but that's all we have for you. But before we end this newscast, a look at our top stories once more. President Adama Barrow has received U.S. Ambassador at Large at the Department of State for Global Criminal Justice at the State House in Banjul. The National Environment Agency is set to validate 3 strategic documents as part of efforts to strengthen resilience to food and nutrition security in the Sahel. Plus, building household resilience, the National Nutrition Agency, in collaboration, has embarked on massive cash transfer to beneficiary communities across the regions. In sports, the district of Kansala has staged the first edition of Fonyi Kansala Marathon, attracting scores of participants in the area. Away from home, the government of the Republic of Togo has confirmed the ousted Burkina Faso leader, Henry Sandago Damiba, had fled to Lomé after a military coup. And the government in Indonesia fires police chief after an independent investigation into a stampede at a football stadium that killed 125 people, including 32 children. Well, viewers, that's the news, and thank you for the pleasure of your company. We'll be back in the studio at 10 p.m. for more news and updates. Bye for now.